कबीर संत की गैल ना छोड़िए, संत की गैल ना छोड़िए, मार्ग लागा जाओ, संत की गैल ना छोड़िए, मार्ग लागा जाओ, देखत ही पुनीत होए, देखत ही पुनीत होए, भेटत जपिए नाम, संत की गैल ना छोड़िए। कबीर साकत संग ना कीजिए, दूरे जाइए भाग, साकत संग ना कीजिए, दूरे जाइए भाग, वासन कारो परसिए, ताव कुछ लागे दाग, वासन कारो परसिए। कबीरा राम नाचत, कबीरा राम नाचत, जरा पहुँचे आए, जरा पहुँचे आए, लागी मंदिर द्वार ते, लागी मंदिर द्वार ते, अब गया काटे जाए, संत की गैल ना छोड़िए। कबीर कारण सो भयो, जो कीनो करतार, कबीर कारण सो भयो, जो कीनो करतार, तिस बिन दूसर को नहीं, एक सिरजनहार। कबीर फल लागे फलन, पाकन लागे आम, जाए पहुँचे खसम को, जो बीच न खाही काम। कबीर ठाकर पूजे मोल ले, ठाकर पूजे मोल ले, मन हठ तीरथ जाए, देखा देखी स्वांग धर, फूले भटका खाए। कबीर पाहन परमेश्वर किया, पूजे सब संसार, ठाकुर पाहन परमेश्वर किया, पूजे सब संसार। इस भरवासे जो रहे, बूढ़े काले धार, संत की गैल ना छोड़िए, मार्ग लागा जाओ। कबीर कागत की ओवरी, मस्के कर्म कमाद, कबीर कागज की ओवरी, मस्के कर्म कमाद, पाहन बोरे प्रथमे पंडित पाड़े बाट, कबीर काद करंता अब करंता सोयताल, पाछे कछ न होएगा जो सिर पर आवे काल। कबीर ऐसा जंतिक देखिया जैसे थोई लाख, तीस चंचल भौखणा, तीस चंचल बहुगुणा, मतहीना नापाक। कबीर मेरी बुद्ध को जम न करे तिसकार, जिन ए जमया सिरजया, जिन ए जमुआ सिरजया, सो जपया परवदगार। संत की गैल न छोड़िए, मार्ग लागा जाओ, देखत ही पुनीत होए, देखत जपिए नाओ। संत की गैल न छोड़िए। कबीर संत की गैल ना छोड़िए। Today's journey is going to start as a continuity of the last week's topic. Last week we ended the discussion where Kabir had said, कबीर सूता क्या करे, बैठा रहो और जाग, जाके संग ते बिछरा, ताहू के संग लाग. So that was an invitation. Invitation to quiet the mind, quiet the thought process, silence the noise level inside so that the real sound can be heard from within. But that's not an easier task. That's not a simple thing to do. How do you get there? How do you quiet the mind? How do you silence this? And Kabir ji is trying to build that thought process for us to show that way. How do you get there? It is a known process that to light a candle, you need to get another candle that's already lighted. There is absolutely no way to light a candle from the scratch. The spark has to come from somewhere else. And that's a chicken and egg routine. If you get into the discussion of this, well, to light that spark, to get another spark, to get that spark, to get another spark. So where is the first spark? And you will always run into that argument, you will always run into the tendency of the mind. And the people have used this argument to their basic advantages, those who wanted to use this as a means of their own grandiose scheme. There are people right now who would tell you that the Sikhism is absolutely mistaken, because there is always a need of a teacher in the physical form. They would go so far to say that even though there are words, there is a shabad, there is those things are written, somebody has to give meaning to that. When you dig deeper into this, that argument doesn't hold very much, because everyone has a different way of looking at the same word. So rather than looking for somebody else's meaning, the meaning should come from inside, from yourself. When you meditate on a certain thought, on a certain word, it starts answering back to you. But if it does not, and you need the spark, and Kabir is referring to that spark, he says, if you need the help, if you need that spark, then you need to find the true master, the one who is not interested in his or her own grandiose schema. If there is a self-interest of any master, any teacher, any preacher, the message will get compromised. That's in the nature of the beast. Whether this person wants to do it or not is not the issue. The issue is that it's the nature of the beast. If there is a self-interest, somewhere along the line, the message is going to get compromised. That's why the organized religion has never been able to produce a Buddha. They have not produced a single enlightened soul. Because the message never gets in that intensity. So Kabir ji says, Kabir Sant ki gail na chhodiye. He says, if you find the true master, and you have that urge, that desire to get the true master, you are not going to find too many of them. But if you do find, then hold on to it. Don't let go. There will be tests on the way. There will be various difficulties on the way. But if you have found the true master, don't let it go. Stay on the path, stay on the course. Because the mind will create illusions for you. Mind will create dreams for you. You will think that what I am thinking is correct, what I am being told is not correct. The mind will argue back. Mind will want to fight back, because mind wants to maintain its own center. It wants to maintain its own ego state. So he says, don't get distracted. Sant ki gal. Gal means picha, palla. Na chhodiye. Once you find the master, don't let him go. Marg laga jao. Stay on the path. Stay the course. Because in the first shloka he had said, make the mind noiseless. Then how do I do it? He says, well, stay the course. If you have started on it, don't get distracted by the difficulties. Because if you overcome those difficulties, you are now developing the strength, the energy to get deeper into the higher states of consciousness. But what is the test of a true one? How do I know? How do I know I have found the right guide, right teacher, right master? How do I know that? He says, here is the signpost, here is the test. Pekhat hi puneet hoye bhet japiye now. He says, you will know that just being in the company, it will give you a peace. It will give you certain aura. And the only word that will come from him or her would be meditate, go on the path. He would not advise you anything else. There will be no ritualistic aspects to this. He would not tell you bend this with 10 times and 6 times that way and get up at that one and do this and that. He will not go in those, he will not give you those devices. He will basically say, I am in meditation, come and sit down, and you would meditate just the same. Petat japiye now. He would not guide you to do anything else. Those who have self-interest, they would want to maintain. They would want to hold on to you. A true master never holds on to a disciple. Because that is the true love. There is a relationship between the master and the disciple. Now, in the European and Western culture, that concept is not there. There is a concept of a teacher and a student. But a master and a disciple concept is very much Eastern. That relationship is not exchange of wealth or money. You devote the time, I give the money. In this path, there is no exchange of money. There is no exchange of wealth. In reality, both have transcended. You need to get to the state where the wealth and the name and the fame does not come in the way. And that concept is very foreign to the Western mind. It becomes so difficult to see how can you maintain a relationship. I am devoting time and energy. Why shouldn't I be compensated for it? But in this deal, there is no compensation. The rewards, the aim that the both are working, actually the master and the disciple ends up being co-traveler on the same journey, to the same goal, to the same objective. So nobody is giving anything to anybody. Nobody is taking. It's one candle lighting another candle. Each candle has the potential, has that spark, has that light within. You only use the other to get it started. And that's all the master's purpose is, to get it started. Master does not take anything, doesn't add anything. That's the sign of the true master. So he says, if you find such a co-traveler, then hold on to it. Kabir, sant ki gail na chhodiye, marg laga jao. Marg laga jao, chalya chal, toda chal. Don't stop. Stay on the course. Pekat hi puneet hoye. The sign of that, indication of that true master is that by just being in the company, there will be a certain energy that will surround you, and the word that will come out of that, Bhagat Kabir now, he will get you started on the meditative path. But what happens to the opposite? There is the opposite that normally happens. And he describes the opposite right in the next sentence. What is the opposite of this? Se Kabir sakat sang na kijiye, dure jaiye bhag. In the first stanza, he's talking of the master, true master. In the second stanza, he's trying the one who is actually has a self-interest. Sakat. Sakat means the one who is actually way away from the spiritual world and is only absorbed in the self-gratification, self-satisfying. So he says, Kabir, sakat sang na kijiye. So how do you know? How do you know that this is a sakat and not a saint? He gives a test. A sakat would always have something of the self in the words. When they will see, when whatever advice, whatever suggestion, whatever guidance will come out of that person, it will always have a self-motivation, self-interest, self-grandiose. The way the presentation would be, if nothing else, and I have observed this all through, if nothing else, you will see, watch the tone. The words will be paraphrased in such a way to glorify the self. See, nobody has ever told you like this, I'm going to tell you like that. You have never heard this from anybody. Nobody understands this as I do. And you suddenly start seeing the sense that somebody is trying to, if there is that level of the self is there, if the I is there, which is trying to seek glorification even from the disciples, much less glorification from the higher self. If the paraphrasing is such, listen to me what I have to say. You have never heard it from anybody else. Nobody's ever going to tell you like this. Kabir says that is a sign of a sakar. The sign, that's a test, because a person's ego is coming out right in the conversation. So he says, when you find that kind of a company, what should you do? He says, "Duro jaiye bahar." So get away from it. The one who is trying to glorify himself in your presence, that means that individual is not seeking the glory in that world, is more interested in the glory in this world. And if the glory in this world is important, then the spiritual path has already been lost. So he says, why am I advising you this? And he gives the justification. He says, "Basan karo par siye." Basan means a pot. Karo means black. Kala bartan. He said, "Basan karo par siye." So if you try to clean a charcoal, you try to wash it, he says your hands are going to get black no matter what. You can't hide it because the pot was black. So he says that if you are in the company of such souls, such people for whom the self-glorification is important than the ultimate glory, if you are true, if you are sincere seeker, get away from it. Put a distance. Now, an argument will come. Well, now are you being judgmental? I thought we are supposed to see everybody's God's children. So why are you calling somebody good and somebody bad? You just call saint good and the sakar the bad, isn't it? See how tricky these things are? Observe, and that's what I mean by meditating. When I say meditate on this thought, that's what I'm saying. And look at it, what has happened here. Right in the same breath, it appears that Kabir may have also committed the same crime to which he is trying to tell us not to do. He may have called somebody good and somebody bad. And that's nothing could be further from the truth. As the seeker gets on the way, on the path, when you plant a seed and the plant sprouts from the ground, it is weak. It cannot protect itself. A strong wind, a little bird, an animal can come and destroy that plant. So what do? We put shelters around it, barbed wire. And then the plant becomes a tree, we take the barbed wire out because now the tree is strong enough. He is addressing the seeker who is just starting on the path. That energy hasn't developed that he can stay in the company of a sakat and still not be affected. He says, till you get there, till you have developed enough energy, you need to put that. So he is showing us the way that when you are starting on the path, you would need the encouragement to stay with the saint, with the true master, and stay away from those who are more interested in self-glorification. So he is not condemning one or the other. It is the guidance that he is providing to the seekers who are going to get on the path. It's not a judgmental statement. It is a cautionary, it's a precautionary statement to those who are getting started. Because as I said, we concluded the last talks by saying, make the mind silent. Well, how do I make the mind silent? Seek the counsel of a saint. What is it? How do I recognize a saint? He will put you on one path and only one path. without self-interest, self-gratification, self-glorification. But I don't find that. What happens when I am in the company of others? It says, watch out for that. That's a difficulty that will come on your way. Be at that time alert and stay away from those which can cause you to get distracted from the path. So these things are extremely delicate, and for a seeker it is very important to have that awareness. When we lose this awareness is when we become judgmental. That's when we become critical of the others. That's when we start finding faults with the others. Naturally, hey, I just heard Kabir. Kabir said, hey, this is a saint and this is a non-saint, so I don't like this, I like that. And suddenly we have lost the total purpose. Gone astray. That wasn't the objective of the saint at all. So need to be very careful and very alert when we are looking into these. He says if you don't do that, what will happen? He says you will be oscillating back and forth. And the time will be wasted. Life will be wasted. And he goes on to the next statement. He says, Kabir Ram na chetyo, jara pahunchyo aaye. So what happens? He says, if you are oscillating between one step further, one step back, one step further, one step back, the life goes away, and you do not Ram na chetyo. That doesn't mean remember, it's chit vich aana, back jana. Chetyo means mind the back jana. What? Mind. He says, you have not achieved that state. Ram na chetyo. You have not achieved that state of blissfulness, and what happened? He says, Jara pahunchyo aaye. Jara means the old age, budapa. It's the old age. The end of the life cycle is getting closer. And now you remember the warning of the saint that this is going to happen, and you find yourself in that state, and what happens? He said, Lagi mandar dwarte. Ab kya kaandya jaye? He said, when the house is ready to burn down, what are you going to save now? There's nothing left to save. The life has gone away. In the East, this has been actually the biggest injustice done to the human consciousness, was done with that thought that we will divide the life into 4 sections. Right? First section you play and study. Second section you raise the family. Third section you become the mentor and guide the coming generations. And the fourth stage you actually go and meditate. Kabir is not in agreement with that thought process. He said, how can you? By that time, there is nothing left in you. There is no energy left. There is no motivation left. How can you do in the last stage? And that has been the consistent guidance from the Eastern, those so-called preachers. So he says that that's not going to, he's alerting and said, don't wait for that last stage. Do it now. Find the time now. Find the motivation now. Find the master now. And he actually, you see that he creates a kind of crisis. The kind of crisis that Christianity created. And I have shared that thought with you. Jesus would never divulge to the masses that there can be another life. He said, no, there's only one life. That's it. One life to live. You do it now. It's not that Jesus didn't know that there is a cycle of life and death. Jesus was completely aware of this. It is out of his compassion that he keeps that fact from the masses, because he knew what has happened to the Eastern consciousness. It has become totally lazy. Why worry about this life? There's plenty of life, so let's enjoy this life. We can do it in the next life, that's alright. Well, who knows whether there's going to be next life or not? Let's enjoy it. he obliterated the complete thought process from the Western mind and said, there is no other life. If you want to get to the heaven, do it now. Do something now. You will find Kabir creating that kind of a crisis also, in a different fashion. So he says, if you have not done it, if you have not taken the steps, while your body, mind was completely alert and in senses, he says nothing is going to be saved now. The house is going to burn down without getting anything saved. Lagi mandar dwar te ag lagi hui hai kithe ghar de vich. Lagi mandar dwar te ab kya kaan diya jaye? There is nothing to save. What can you save now? The saving could happen when you are capable of actually getting on the path. Saving could happen had you taken the first step while you are capable of taking the step. If you have not taken the step and enjoyed the company of those who glorified themselves and glorified you in return, and that's what happens. You look at this play, go to any organized religion, and that's what happens. You are great, I am great, both are great. That's great. Both can't have, that guy is very good. Why? Because he called me good. So we are both good. Neither one of us have done anything, have achieved nothing, have invested no time, no effort. But we are feeding each other's ego. So he says there is nothing to be saved in now. The old age is going to come, the life is going to end, and there is nothing to be saved. So what should you do? He brings us back. After giving this warning, he brings us back. He says, Kabir, कारण सो भयो जो की नो करता, तिस बिन दूसर को नहीं एक सिरजनहार. He says, I understand the concept also that whatever is going to happen because of him. But that does not mean that you have no role to play. And this is a very, very tricky concept because we are saying we seem to be saying two contradictory things. On one hand, we say whatever happens, it is his will. If it is not his will, nothing can happen. On the other hand, we are saying you are not doing something, get on with it. Well, if I'm not destined, why should I do? How can I do it? I'm not destined to be. I'm not made up to be. Unless that we can understand that the creation and the Creator has given the free will to be or not to be within the boundaries, within the laws of the nature, we do have the responsibility of taking the right choice, making the right action. Based on the action, the reaction will come. But we drop the action part of it as a excuse of not, as an excuse for the non-action. So he says, I understand that we all have heard what? Kabir karan so bhayo jo kino karta. Whatever is happening under his will. That is known, it's understood. But there is something behind it that we as a seeker need to understand. And what is that? कबीर कारण सो भयो जो कीनो करता तिस बिन दूसर को नहीं एक सिरजनहार. He says that concept is there, that there is only one and everything is under his will. But what should the seeker be focusing on? कबीर फल लागे फलन पाकन लागे आम. He says you need to focus on something else. So he builds us up beautifully, started with the thought of selecting the master, who will help to quiet the mind, trying to stay away from those who are self-interested, warning that the time is getting wasted if you don't get started, alerting us that there is a concept that will slow us down, and he says, no, you cannot. If you are true seeker, what you want to do? कबीर फल लागे फलन पाकन लांगे आग जाए पहुंचे खसम को जो बीच नहीं खाए खाम. Those souls who are not shaky, who are not wavering on their path, who are not double-minded about it, he says they will get there. जाए पहुंचे खसम को जो बीच नहीं खाई काम. काम means kampana, the vibrations of the mind, the duality of the mind. Sometimes yes, I need to get on, sometimes no, I don't need to get on because I'm not blessed, I'm not the chosen one. When I get the call, when the God wills, it will happen by itself. That duality, on and off, up and down, he says, so long you are alert to that and not wavering continuously, you will get there. Those who hold on to this thought that I am doing my part of it, leaving the end result to somebody else, then the almost an assurance that you will get there. And that looks contradictory because there is no guarantee on these paths. But since he started on the path and he achieved something, he is giving us the assurance, saying, जाए पहुंचे खसम को जो बीचे ना खाई काम. Those who do not waver on their determination, they will get there. They will arrive at some place. But that's not what is happening. What is happening? So he says, this is what the drama is going on. What is the drama? Kabir Thakar Puje Molala. He says, what are you doing? What is happening in the world is that first you go to the market and you buy a god. You buy a statue, so-called God, and then you bring it home. Something that you bought from the outside becomes the source of worship for you. He says, look at the contradiction. So those who can buy a statue of gold instead of the statue of a stone, would their God be any better than the other? Should they feel better, higher? Those who can offer only a little something to the statue, should they feel little weaker and cheaper as compared to the one who can actually offer some more precious things to that statue? He said, look at what the drama is going on. So he is warning, he is again alerting us. He says, Kabir, Thakar Puje Modla, Man Hat Tirat Jaye, Dekha Dekhi Swang Dhar Bhule Bhatka Khaye. He said, what's going on? He says, Dekha Dekhi. We were talking about the herd mentality last week, the sheep mentality. He says, that's what's going on in the world. That if someone is doing this, well, must be right, let me do that. Let me follow the same thing. Without first looking inside, is this coming from the true master or not? Is this word coming from the true master or not? And that's where we started the conversation today was, Sant ki gaal na chhodiye. No sant, no master will tell you, here is a God, go worship it. That's not, no master has ever said that. Buddha never said, make my statue and start worshipping. And look at the whole of the Buddhism. He never meant that. He never said that. Mahavir never said that. More than half of the world today is worshipping statues. So one can argue, and that question was asked here a while back, well, what's wrong with it? If it helps me to concentrate, is that so bad? But isn't that a very big assumption? If it helps me to, is it helping you? Can you see, can you go beyond the face of the statue? If you can, then do you need the statue? If you could have gone beyond the face, do you need a painting? Do you need a picture? If you could have done that, and if you need it, what is the guarantee that you are being able to go beyond it? And that's the warning Kabir is creating. He said, this is what is happening in the world. They get trapped by these wise people who are glorifying, whose interest is self-glorification, and they are putting the whole mankind on the erroneous path. So the mind feels very happy, very satisfied. I was on my way back to the United States from India, and I noticed that in the morning the people walk miles and miles to stop on the way to a Gurdwara, to a temple, to their marketplace. So those of you who are from Delhi, they know that whole of the Kashmiri Gate market is populated by the business world. And they all stop on the way, first before going to their shop. So the person I was staying with said, let's go then. I said, that's fine, let's go. And I noticed there that where the shoes were being taken off, there were a few people sitting with a little handkerchief in their hand, a little brush, and they had paper underneath it, and they're taking the shoes and dusting it off and collecting that dust. And that dust then was being packed. Charnadhuri lega, Samgadi Charnadhuri. And they were giving these to everybody, and they were collecting. With a very big reverence, they were bringing that. So I saw him, he brought that, he brought it to his shop, and he threw the dust, spread the dust in the shop, and now the shop is open for business. Okay, so far so good. Now the interesting thing is that the rest of the day, the God and the godliness disappeared from that place. Not a single word or a statement or a demeanor showed that there is a fear of God, or there is a love of God, or there is a spirituality. The day started beautifully and it ended miserably. But if you question that, ask, and being what I am, I couldn't resist asking as to why go through this? Why this charade? And the response was that any day I don't get there, my day is never good. I have to go there, otherwise the day doesn't pass right. But don't you see the fallacy? He said, yeah, this is this world, that's that world. And then let me tell you another secret. That if I don't go there, the rest of the shop, those whole bazaar, knows that this guy did not go there in the morning. And that's the worst punishment. The others should see that I did visit the temple before opening the shop. How did these things get started? As they say, the way to the hell is paved with very good intentions. And that's what is happening to the life, and that's what Kabir is warning us about. He said, watch what you're doing. On the surface it appears very good because you are worshipping, you are praying, but you are praying to what? Something that you bought in the shop yourself. Somebody made it, you pay the price for it, and you still call it a god, and now you are treating that symbol as a god. It is not going to get you there, it is going to become a barrier. no matter how much alert you are, it will become a barrier. It will not let you get beyond the statue because of the fact that you paid for it. Remember, anything that you have been asked to pay for on the path of spirituality will get a barrier. Even if the master asks something, if he has asked something, that's going to become a barrier for you as well for him. It's a given. Any exchange of any wealth in the path of spirituality will become a barrier. Has been tried and tested for the time immemorial. And if you don't believe it, go ahead, experiment. Because all the world is saying that. Everybody says, well, I fully understand, and I'm an educated person, I am intelligent, I can see that I can avoid that trap. Nobody has been able to avoid that trap. And Kabir says, don't fall in that trap. Listen to the words, those who have been through that. He said, Kabir, ठाकर पूजे मोल लै, मन हट तीरथ जाए, देखा देखी स्वांग धर, भूले भटका खाए. He says, you are just wasting the life. You are just wasting the time. But what is happening? He builds on the same thought. Next, he says, Kabir, pahan parmeshwar kiya. Pahan means the stone, pathar. Say, belief system, bharwasa. If you have this belief system, those who have this mindset, he said they are destined to be drowned in the middle. They are not going to go across the river of life. No other saint has dared say these things in such a clear form. He's hitting at the very root of the ritualism. He's not talking about Hindus, he's not talking of Muslims, he's not talking of Christians, he's not talking of Sikhs. He is hitting at the root of ritualism. Doesn't matter which it is, society follows the ritualism. He says, if you have become ritualistic, then you are destined to be lost. You will not get across anywhere. Kabir bahar parvesar kiya pooje sab sansar. The whole of the world is fallen into that trap, worshipping a god made out of stone, a symbol made out of stone. Is barvase jo rahe bude kali dhar. Anyone who is going to have that belief system, bharwasa, bude means to drown, kali dhar means right in the middle. He says it's destined to be. कबीर कागद की ओगरी, मस के कर्म कपाट, पाखन बोरी प्रथमी पंडित बाड़ी बाट. So eventually he declares, he says, why did this happen? How did this happen? He says the real culprit is that preacher, pandit. Because the pandit's interest was the self-glorification, self-gratification. So what did he do? He said, Kabir, kagad ki ovri. Kagad here means not the ordinary paper, it means where the words are written, Ved. He says that those words written on a piece of paper, mas ke karam, mas means ink, syai. Mas ke karam kapat. See, the written words of that preacher, that Brahman, what did he do? He says he misguided the whole world and Pahan Bori Prithmi. Bori means to drown somebody. He says this Pahan means the stone, Pathar. Bori means drown, Prithmi means the whole world. Who did it? He said, Pandit Pariba. The preacher, the priest, whose only interest was to collect wealth, created this ritualism and gave to the whole world. He himself was going to be drowned in this world. He took the rest of the world with him in his own self-interest. And the innocent mind, ignorant mind, followed it blindly without thinking through, without paying attention, without meditating on the thought. As we were saying earlier, because mind has a tendency to believe in the number. If more people are saying it and doing it, it must be right. How can so many people be wrong? I have heard the people give the argument that we don't want to go to heaven. Well, why not? Well, all of our friends are going to be hell, so we better give the company to our friends. What a nice argument. Heaven is a boring place. Hell will be a jovial place, so let's go all. Let's continue doing what we're doing. It's strange mindset. And we take pride in that kind of a thought process. Who wants to go to heaven? Nobody, because it's all very boring there. Everybody is sitting with their eyes closed. There's no dance, there's no songs, and there's no wines and women, and so let's all go to hell. Great. What kind of thought process is this? He says, because the majority says that, doesn't make it right. But that's what has happened. Because the preacher said, look, everybody's doing this. Look how many are following this. All could not be wrong. The reality is all are wrong. In the spiritual dimension, the laws of democracy do not work. As a matter of fact, usually Satan is alone, the rest of the world is the opposite to him. The true master will be just one single standing by itself. Do you know that the masters are usually compared with the pole star, Dhruv Tara? Why is that? Mostly because that star is a lone star, one star, and the reason that saints are compared with that is because it doesn't move. And even that's inaccurate to say whether it moves or not, because the Earth's axis pointed out to it, it appears stationary, still. A saint would be absolutely still at his core. No thought process, no desire left for any other gratification, for any other glorification other than the acceptance by the ultimate energy. That's the only thought he stays with. But the preacher, the priest will have exactly the opposite. And he says that's what has happened to the whole world. Pagar Bori Prithvi. He says it's not just one or two. It's not just one religion or the other. The priest in every religion is committing a similar sin, a similar crime, misguiding the world in their own glorification. So then what should you do? Now the Kabir is going to create that crisis that I mentioned earlier. Look at the statement. He says, Kabir, Kal Karanta Abhekar Ab Karanta Soetal. So he is now creating the crisis. He says, if you are going to get on the path tomorrow, so it's going to be too late. Why? Who knows tomorrow will come or not? Would you be here tomorrow? Would I be here tomorrow? Would any of us will be tomorrow? How can you say that I will be here tomorrow? I'll get started tomorrow. Because if I'm saying I'll get started tomorrow, that means at least I have that much assurance that I will be here tomorrow. He says that's not true. We all know that. That's not true. This is why are you waiting for tomorrow? Kabir Kal Karanta. Kal means tomorrow. He says you're going to do something tomorrow, Abhekar, do it right now. This moment. Because this is the only moment you are sure that you are there. Now, see an interesting experiment, and I have observed it within myself many times. If you walk by a homeless, you see that these people are standing on the corners with the cardboard signs, and so your car comes. You see from a distance, and you feel like maybe if the stoplight comes, so maybe I'll give it out. Now, if you do not take the dollar out of your pocket immediately, guess what happens? Just go. The moment if the thought came, if it was not acted upon at that moment, you will not do it. It will pass by. Now, the interesting thing is, see the other way around. If you feel like you're going to a movie, that thought will never go away. That will happen. You slowly keep on walking by, and I have seen that a number of times. You start thinking of doing, all right, well, not a dollar, okay, maybe a quarter, well, maybe not a quarter, maybe a dime. Suddenly nothing happens. Any act of giving, if it is separated by the time space, it will lose its energy. Any act associated with the senses will actually gather the energy. That's what happens to all of the addictive behavior, all of the compulsive addictive behavior. As the time passes by, it gathers their momentum. All of the positive behavior, as the time passes by, loses the momentum. And Kabir says, if you are going to get on that path, then you have to do it now, this moment. Otherwise, won't do it tomorrow something else, even if the tomorrow comes, something else will come on the way, and you will not get on the path. Kabir kal karanta avekar, ab karanta soetal. He says, if you are going to do today, then you should have done that this moment, not today. Whatever it was tomorrow, you should have done it today. Whatever was today, you should be doing it now. If you are not, paase kach na hoega, jo sir pare aave kal. He says that that's the quality of the time. Understand the nature of the beast. Sar pare aave kal. Kal means time. As the time passes by, you will lose the energy, you will lose the desire, some other interruption will come, some other distraction will come, it will never get done. It is the same urgency Jesus created for whole of the Christianity. He said, this is one life. If you want to get to the Father's house, do something now. Follow me. Surrender. The repentance, the true repentance. If anybody could understand what Jesus was saying, the life will change in a moment. Guilt feeling never ever modifies anybody. But the true repentance, true remorse, changes the life completely. When the remorse comes, and the technique of remorse was perfected by Jesus and given to the mankind, say, use the technique of remorse. Remorse for everything, anything, my words, my action, my dress, my sitting, my standing, everything. Why? Because I don't know if I'm sitting correctly. I don't know if I'm using the correct words. So if that level of remorse comes, suddenly your language will change. Suddenly your body postures change. Suddenly the whole quality of life changes. So what did the priest do? They modified it. Have come once a week or once a month or once a year, confess, and you are ready for the next cycle now. Go do again. Father, I have sinned, you are forgiven, okay, now go sin again, come back. Total misunderstanding. Kabir says that on the path of spirituality, time gap and hesitation will become permanent. There is no way. The urgency has to be now. If it's not there, it will never be. कबीर ऐसा जंत एक देखिया जैसे धोई लाख. Beautiful example. He says this is what is happening to the world. Dhoi lakh, shining. Now, the lakh, I don't know what that word for that would be. Huh? Yeah, it is a kind of a wax. Lakh? It's a shallak. And shallak or shalak, it shines very much from a distance. You can see, he says that's what is happening to the world. ऐसा जंतक देखिया जैसे धोई लाख. So that mankind has become like a shining shallak. What does it mean? The outer presentation has to be very alluring. Whole of the world should see me in a best possible light. It doesn't matter what I am inside. My dress should be good, my behavior should be good, my word should be good, but am I good? That doesn't matter. He said that's what has happened. How did this duality develop? How this split personality got? How did it evolve? He says that is the false, that is that preacher's gift to the world. Because they took the words of the saint and modified it and presented it in such a way. And this is the argument we have here also, right? Hey, this is too tough, too big. We are common people, we have to live in this world. How can we do all of that? So as soon as the human mind says, it's too tough, how can I do this? They say, all right, let's simplify it for you. Let's dilute the truth a little bit. Let's stretch. So now both are satisfied now. And so this is what is happening to the world. कबीर ऐसा जंत देखिया जैसे धोई लाख दिसे चंचल बाहुघना. Chanchal word comes from chal, the one that is continuously moving. Dise chanchal. ये बच्ची बड़ी चंचल है. Chanchal is the one which Sharati Chanchal actually comes from chal. That's why the God is called Nehchal. Right? The ultimate energy doesn't move. Stay. Nehchal. And the world is chanchal. See, the whole of the world outside is moving, is running around to do what? To appear good, have the right appearance. And let's watch. I mean, we don't need to look at anybody else. We can see ourselves that how many faces we wear. In front of a boss we are different, in front of a friend we are different, in front of a customer we are different, in front of a child we are different. We have those personas that we keep on taking off and putting on. Why do we do that? So that we look good. Look good to the outside world. What is happening inside? He says, mat hina napa. Mat hina. Without the understanding of the word. Mat means the intellect. Hina means without. Napa, impure. Pak means pure. Napak means impure. This is that the inside is completely full of impurities, but the outside is very shining. Entire organized religion has created this facade, and the whole of the mankind is fallen into that trap. So Kabir says, If you are a true seeker, if you have seen through this facade, then wake up. Do something different. What is that different? Today's last Slok. Here is the difference. It says, Kabir meri buddh ko jam na kare tiskar. He says, develop that intellect, develop that way of existing which cannot be ever questioned or challenged by the God or the messenger of death. Jam is the messenger of death. You should not be challenged, you should not be questioned, you should not be critiqued. Jam na kare tiskar. How can you get there? Here is the technique. What is that? Jin e jamua sirjya so japya parvardagar. He says, you get connected with the one who actually also created that messenger of death. Jin e jamua sirjya. The one who created all of this, get connected with that. Start meditating, start chanting his name, get one with that name. So japya parvardagar. Japana means to chant. Now, Kabir does not mean chanting you now like a tape recorder, you start saying whatever. That's not what he's saying. Chanting doesn't mean that. Because mechanical repetition is not meditation. It is the awareness, the inside awareness, alertness. If what you are saying, your mind is not in it, if you are not listening to what you are saying, if you are not paying attention to, if your thought process is going somewhere else and the mind, the words are something else, that's not going to help. That's not what Kabir means here. Simrana here means that that word, that thought on which you are focused, that is the only thought that is inside and outside. He says, get on that path, start practicing that, start on that, not tomorrow, not today, but now. And if only, who will do that? He says, anyone who actually is seriously desirous of. Who will get that desire? The one who has seen the fallacy of the ritualism, the fallacy of all that. And we may have spent our entire life in that ritualism. And if we have so much vested in that we cannot leave it, that we feel guilty about it, that is the time actually to wake up and say, now is the time. That attachment need to let go and get on the real path. So the Kabir started us today by saying the mind needs to quiet down. Seek the help of those who have gone there. Avoid till you have developed the energy within. Avoid the distractions. Don't be judgmental. Just save yourself. Walk away from this. If you don't do that, the time is going to pass. You're going to get to the end of it and there will be nothing to be saved. Don't fall into the trap of that if the God wills it will happen. That state belongs to somewhere else, not in this dimension. And he builds us, he said, those who have fallen this, have not shaken faith, they have arrived there, but that's not what the world is doing. They are following the ritualistic aspect, and he's saying, watch out for that ritual, get away from that ritualism, and get on the true path of meditation and Naam Simran. So may we get that desire and urge and the urgency to get on that path.